So pickled carrots are so easy, you may actually freak out when you find out how easy they are. Let's get started. So we've got our little pot here. We don't need a very big pot because what we're actually gonna do is we've got our carrots here in these mason jars already. We're just gonna put everything in the pot, bring it to a boil, let it cool for 10 minutes so it's not super boiling hot, and then pour it over the carrots. And then that's really it. We've got our carrots cooked down to these like longer, they're like a thicker julienne. Like julienne is 1/8 of an inch, but these are like kind of like more coarsely cut and a little bit thicker because I like thicker pickled carrots. You can actually do even thicker pickled carrots if you want to like pick them up and eat them with your hands, or you can do like a full regular julienne at 1/8 of an inch if you want to do like your traditional banh mi. You can kind of do whatever you want. Just keep in mind that like the thinner that you slice your carrots, the more quickly they will absorb the pickling solution. And so like bigger, thicker carrots initially will taste more carroty. They'll become more pickled as they sit over time, whereas thinner carrots like this little guy will actually pickle very quickly. But in the end, like if they're sitting in your refrigerator for months and months and months, it doesn't really matter because they're gonna be completely pickled after like a month anyway, so who cares? So we've got our carrots in our mason jars. The jars are full. And we've got our little pot here. It's not very much liquid, so we don't need a huge pot. We're gonna pour everything in. This is our vinegar. This is champagne vinegar, but you can use whatever vinegar you want. You can use apple cider vinegar. You can use white wine vinegar, red wine vinegar. You can do a blend of vinegars. It's actually a really great way to use up like miscellaneous vinegars. You have like little bits left in like 5 different bottles. Just pour them all in. Got some water. And got our sugar. Boop. And we've got our salt. Boop. And we're gonna turn on our burner and we're gonna bring this to a boil. And it's gonna take a few minutes to boil, and so I'll be back in 1 second. Alrighty, we've got our pickling solution to a boil. I put a lid on it to speed it up because if you try to boil an uncovered pot, not only does it take forever, but you lose a lot of moisture, which is what we don't want. So I've covered the pot, it's come to a boil, and whoop, there we go. Now I'm gonna let this sit for 10 minutes to cool before I pour it over my pickle solution. What I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna pour it in here because pouring anything into a mason jar is really difficult. So you really need something with a spout because you'll end up with it everywhere. So I'm going to pour this in here, hopefully not pour it all over myself. Oh, how's that for awesome? Alrighty, we're gonna let this cool for 10 minutes and then we're gonna pour it over the carrots. Alrighty, we've got our cooled pickling solution. This is a really good time to mention that you can add anything you want, well, within reason, to a pickling solution. Like you don't want to add anything that's going to change the 5% acid ratio. That's really important. That needs to hold. But you can add other stuff to your pickling solution. You can add fresh herbs, you can add spices, you can add like mustard seeds, juniper berries, you can add peppercorns. I mean, pretty much any flavor you want, you can add. Like fresh herbs tend to get a little vaporized, so you don't want to like add them in the beginning and then boil them because it'll just like vaporize their flavor. But what you can do is once it's cooled off, you can actually add the fresh herbs to your solution when it's still really hot, when it's still steaming. Let them sit for a few minutes and then pour them into your carrots or whatever vegetables you're picking. Alrighty, we're all set. We've got our carrots in our jars. I've put the carrots on a towel here for a couple reasons. One, because I want it to capture any like spilled liquid that might fall out. It's kind of hard to pour into a mason jar. Sometimes the liquid hits the carrots and kind of bounces out. But also, I'm not a big fan of pouring hot liquid into a jar that's sitting on a cold surface. Like mason jars are treated, they're supposed to be able to like manage big changes in temperature very quickly. But I gotta tell you, I've actually lost a mason jar that way. I had it sitting on a stone countertop like that. I poured hot liquid into it, it cracked literally in half, right? So now I just don't even risk it. Well, I put them on this little towel to kind of protect them from the cold of the countertop. And I'm gonna leave them sitting on this counter for probably a good like 20, 30 minutes until the entire pickling solution inside the jar has cooled off to the point that I'm comfortable actually putting them on a cold surface. So now we've got our pickling solution. And there might actually be extra pickling solution in here, which is totally fine. We just need enough to cover these completely. And part of the reason that we've cooled this off a little bit, oh, it's still pretty hot. Part of the reason that we've cooled this off is because we don't want it to like hard cook the carrots super fast. We want the carrots to cook somewhat, but not all the way. So we still want them to remain their crisp and their crunch. And we do that, so if I can actually stick my finger in this, so it's probably like 180 degrees, 170 degrees. So that's why it's still steaming, but it's not very hot. Like I can stick my finger in it pretty easily. And so these carrots are gonna cook in the liquid, but not very much. They're going to kind of retain their crunch. And then with all the salt and sugar and acid in the water, they're going to really slowly just sort of absorb all their flavors and maintain that beautiful crunch that we love about carrots. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to let these cool off on the counter. Once they're cooler, I'm going to put them in the fridge. I'm going to let them sit for 12 to 24 hours before I even taste them, because I want them to really cure a little bit more before I taste them. And then they're ready to eat. You can put them on anything you want. You can put them on burgers, eat them by themselves, put them on a sandwich. Like, they're great on a banh mi. They're really great mixed into a salad. Like, they really give life to almost any savory dish.